For more on how this attack is unfolding, let's bring in retired U.S. Navy Admiral James Foggo. He is joining us now from Washington. Admiral, you just heard David Martin there at the Pentagon quoting that message that Vladimir Putin delivered to the Russian people overnight. How would you describe Russia's military operation in Ukraine currently? Because it does strike me, on one hand, that threat that Putin made in his statements overnight. On the other, I'm seeing, for example, from retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, he writes this on Twitter: Russia's first actions are hit or miss. It's not looking as bad as I would have thought. Fewer cruise missiles and airstrikes, an early use of ground forces without reducing Ukraine's military. We will learn a great deal about the Russian military. It seems weaker than suspected. What are your thoughts?
Thanks very much, Vlad and Anne-Marie. It was great to see David Martin again. I spent some time with him up in the high north during a 60 Minutes take. I think he was spot on in his assessment. And as I look at this conflict 12 hours young, I see this as kind of a textbook operation for how you would go into a hostile environment. In fact, I think the Russians have even borrowed a few plays from the U.S. playbook. You know, I have a little experience in the actions that took place on the ground in Libya in 2011. And obviously, many of the folks that are observing this have said that it'll start with cyber attacks. That's been going on all week. They've attacked the Ministry of Defense, Foreign Affairs, other cabinets in the Rada, the Parliament. That's to separate leadership from the troops in the field that are fighting to defend their country. The next thing that's happened overnight is it would appear that there have been attacks on military bases and particularly airfields. You just reported that there was Ukrainian fire on Russian aircraft or helicopters. The Russians need air superiority if they're going to make this campaign successful for the Russian side. And so by taking out the ability of the Ukrainian Air Force to launch from those airfields and potentially destroying some of their fixed wing assets, they won't be able to go up and fight the Russians. They have very limited integrated air and missile defense. There's been some transfers of Stinger missiles. You remember that from Afghanistan and in the great book and movie Charlie Wilson's War. The Russians were defeated in Afghanistan primarily because of their inability to get air cover for ground troops. So they're going to want that air cover, and they're going to continue to move the ground troops in from, three different axes that have been discussed all night and all morning, from Belarus into the Donbass and further to the west towards Kyiv. And Odessa was attacked last night. There's some speculation that that might have been a strike from the sea. I don't think we know yet. It could have been short-range ballistic missiles. It could have been a Caliber ballistic missile, which is their sea-launched missile. It's much like our Tomahawk. But clearly, this campaign is progressing the way that I would have expected, and that's indeed unfortunate. As to the Colonel's comments, I can't comment on that. We're 12 hours into this campaign. I am hopeful that the resistance that the Ukrainian army can put up will not be impacted by a separation from command and control in Kyiv and out into the field. And if you think about it, Vlad, these folks in Ukraine are defending their home turf. It's a home field advantage. They're defending their farms, their houses, their fathers, their mothers, their sisters, brothers, and their children and their wives. And so, the Russians coming in and doing this for no justifiable reason would want to make one fight for one's country, and they are doing just that. They unfortunately don't have a system like Israel, like the Iron Dome that protects Israel against rockets from Hezbollah. We help them with that. They don't have Patriot missiles, and I don't see that it's a possibility for NATO to have Patriot missiles on a border country, Romania or Poland, shoot down any kind of Russian missile that comes in, because we're not doing collective defense. We don't have a NATO ally in Ukraine that we can exercise in Article 5. So it is a dire situation, I think, for the Ukrainians, but I think from all that I can see, they are fighting valiantly for their country.
Admiral, at this point, most of the world, NATO allies, are all sort of united in their take on what's happening in Ukraine. But the X factor is China. And China has acknowledged Russia's security concerns and has criticized the coordinated sanctions, but has not come out in support of the attack on Ukraine overnight. Still, there's a lot of concern that China has the ability, in a way, to sort of bail Russia out, particularly when it comes to these sanctions, maybe buying their oil and gas. What are your thoughts on China's response thus far?
Well, I think China's response thus far has, been according to, the code book of responsible international behavior, not supporting the Russians and not validating an attack on a free and democratic sovereign country. But there could be a mismatch here between words and deeds as this thing plays out. I think China is watching this conflict very carefully, Anne-Marie. As you know, I've said it before and you've heard it before, the Ukraine is not a member of the NATO alliance, so there's no treaty alliance with either the United States or the other parts of NATO. If you look at the Western Pacific, where China is interested in expansion, we have treaty alliances with the Philippines, with Japan, with South Korea, and Thailand, but not with Taiwan. And there has been speculation and there has been action taken by the Chinese, particularly in the airspace around Taiwan, to pressurize Taiwan and to increase tension. One of my friends that retired from the biggest combatant command in the world, Indo-PACOM, last year, Admiral Phil Davidson, said the Chinese will move on Taiwan by 2027. So there's an analogy here. Ukraine is not an ally, treaty ally of the United States or NATO, neither is Taiwan. What do we do now that the conflict has gotten underway in the Ukraine? How do we help the Ukrainians as this thing progresses? Do we continue to provide a Ukrainian insurgency with arms and weapons and political support and take the economic sanctions even further with Russia? China will watch that, and that will have an impact on their future actions with regards to Taiwan. So geopolitically, this is all related, and it changes the entire game plan in the post-World War II world that we've all lived in up until this day.
Wow. Admiral James Foggo, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.